Hi, this is Laurie Mangold, and I'm here with the instructions for month 7 for the regular block. As always, I'm going to do the cutting first, and then we'll talk about the hints and tips for assembling the block. This month we're introducing a new technique called square in a square, and I'm pretty excited to show it to you. So the first thing we're going to do is cut the block, and I have fabric number 1 already down here. And because we're working with triangles, we're going to be cutting a lot of odd fractions. It's not your halves and your quarters. We're going to be doing, whenever you'll find you're doing anything with triangles, you end up doing a lot of eighths. So you just take your time with this and make sure you understand on your ruler where your 1/8 inch mark is. So the first color is going to be, I'm doing the desert so that you can see the lines on my ruler, is the sandstone, and we need to cut a 3 5/8 inch strip and a 2 3/4 inch strip. Like I said, these are not your typical measurements. So I'm going to clean cut this edge, and then I'm going to turn it around, and I'm going to show you the 3 5/8. So here is my 3, and I need to count over 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's the little tick mark, because as you know, a half is 4/8. It's the little tick mark just past the half line. And notice that I'm making sure all the way up that that line is in the same place on the fabric, at the edge of the fabric. And when I'm happy with the way that it's lined up, I'm going to go ahead and cut the first strip. Okay, so that's 3 5/8. Now I need to cut one that's 2 3/4. So there's the 2 and there's the half, and I need to go a quarter past that, so that's the longer lines on the ruler. And again, I'm looking that they're all lined up on the edge, and that looks good, especially the long piece. You want to check them all. And I'm going to go ahead and cut that one. Now I'm going to take this piece, and I'm going to clean cut the edge. And again, all I want to do when I clean cut an edge is to make sure that I have straight. Do that. And now we're going to cut 4 3 5/8 inch squares. So again, and this time I want to make sure that I have a straight line on the bottom, and I'm looking for that little line just past the 1/2 inch mark. And the little line up here should be on the edge too. And so that looks pretty square. Now, if you have a square ruler, you can certainly use that at this point to cut out and line up the 3 sides. I can do it fairly well with my strip ruler. And again, what I'm looking at is that's a half, I need 5/8. And that's why you always want to double check yourself. So there's 5/8, I'm straight, and I've got the little tick marks there. So there's 2, and I need to do 2 more. Now, if you at any point can't get all the lines to line up properly, re-clean cut the edge. I'm happy with that one, because we're doing square in a square, and it is important that these are fairly accurate. And you want them to remain as square as possible. And I'm real happy with that. All right, so that's 4 of them. And well, we'll do that as the first step in the instructions. Okay, so the 2 3/4 we have to cut in 3 1/2 inch rectangles. So I'm going to clean cut the edge here. And then this is easy because I can just do my 3 1/2 inches. So I'm gonna, there's 3, and actually if I go this way it'll be easier because then I'll have full lines. Because remember, when you're working on the Creative Grid rulers, the black are the halves and the white. So I see 3 1/2 right here. So there's 1. I should be fairly fast. 2. Like doing the light fabric because you can really see the lines. 3, and I've got 1 more to cut. And that's fabric number 1. Like I said, when you're working with the 1/8 inches, you want to really take your time. Okay? All right, we good there? Now, Fabric number 2, we need, just like we cut the last piece, we need to cut this into 2 3/4 inch strips, and then we're going to cut 3.5 inch pieces. Now, pay attention to your instructions. You want the 6.5 going this way and the 8.5 going this way when you cut, okay? And that says that on the instructions. So I am going to clean cut this edge, and I have to cut 2 3/4 inch pieces. So there's my 2, and the nice thing about the 3/4 inch on this ruler is that I have long lines all along the edge. So I'm going to cut one, and then I'm going to cut a second one. And right now I'm just worrying about the width of this strip. Okay? Now I'm going to cheat a little bit and put these on top of each other so that I can cut these a little quicker. And I'm going to clean cut the edge. I love this color. There's something about this blue that just makes me happy. Okay, and now we're going to do the 3.5. If we cut it twice at 3.5, get that straight. There we go. There's one. Put those up there. And here is 2. All right. Okay, that's fabric 2. Fabric 3 is going to be this one, and we want the long going along horizontally, and we have to cut a 3.5 inch square and 2 3 1/8 inch squares. So the first thing I'm going to do is clean cut my edge, and I'm going to cut the 3.5 first, and I'm just cutting a strip right now and making sure that it's straight. And then I'm going to cut 2 3 1/8. So again, I'm going to find my 3, and then that little tick mark that's just past the 3, the very first one, is an 1/8. So I've got 1, and I'm going to cut 1 more. And then we'll turn them on their sides and cut the rest of it. There you go. Okay. So I'm going to stack these because we're going to cut them the same. Now I have at home, I have a ruler that has Creative Grid makes an itty bitty 1/8 ruler, so that has all the 1/8 lines labeled. It's kind of hard to look at because there's so many lines, but if you struggle with 1/8 inch cuts, it's a good one to have. So I clean cut, and now I'm going to flip this over, and we're going to find that 3 1/8 again, which I have lined up here, here, and up at top. And I can cut that off. And now I have 2 3 1/8, and this one needs to be 3.5. So as you can see, the cutting, it's a little tricky because of the 1/8, but it doesn't take too long. I'm going to put this one down at 3.5, and line that up. Make sure I'm good all the way around, and do that. And now we have those cut. Okay, we're down to what I call the background fabric, and this has to be cut into 6 3 1/8 inch squares. So again, we need to cut 2 3 1/8 inch strips, and then we can cut those into 3 1/8 inch squares. So again, I'm going to clean cut this edge, and now I'm going to cut 2 3 1/8 inch strips. 3. Again, that little tick mark just past the 3, making sure that all the way up it's on the edge of the fabric. And good there, there's 1. And I'm going to do the next one. Again, same thing, that little tick mark right on the edge of the fabric. Okay. All right. Now, I'm going to put these on top of each other. Do these at the same time also. Anytime I can save time by stacking, I do. I know if I make a mistake, I've ruined 2 pieces, not just 1, but it just saves a lot of time. So I clean cut that, making sure everything was straight. And now I can do my 3 1/8. using this ruler. And then the last cut, what I'm gonna do is show you, whoops, that one's wrong. Remember, the nice thing is I'm always looking for that little tick mark. If I have the big one on there, I've got it lined up wrong. I don't quite have it. It's not letting me go as square as I want. So what I wanted to show you is if you do a square ruler and you go to 3 1/8, you have this little hash mark here that shows you where the corner should be. And then, yeah, I like that much better. And then I've got, if I needed to, if I had a little too much up there, I could cut 2 sides. But this ensures that you've got that straight. So again, 3 1/8 is down here. Got that corner on there. And I need 2 more. In this block, sometimes I think the cutting is the hardest part of it because of all the 8ths. Okay? So that is your cutting. We have 6 3 1/8. We have a 3 1/2 and 2 3 1/8. We have 4 2 3/4 by 3 1/2 in the Mediterranean. And then this one is the same thing in the sage, and these are 4 3 5/8 inch squares. So that is the cutting for month 7.